Star 25. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are in the world. We're going to be talking about a topic that most Americans and most around the world deal with on a daily basis. Credit. Good credit, bad credit. How about no credit? The points I'm going to be following on today. What is credit? Translate that for us. The APR formula and calculation. Do people with good credit truly deserve a low interest rate? My history with the credit card that ended up cut up, and why you should borrow from yourself instead of someone else. Let's get right into it. Number one, what is credit? When I was younger, I used to go to the liquor store, in Detroit. And I used to hear adults say, let me get that on credit, man, let me get that on credit. And I would essentially see them leave the store with the product, not exchanging any dollars or using a debit card to finalize the transaction. And I think to myself, like, credit must be a good thing. Let me get credit. I can walk out the store. Why didn't the thieves think of this? Credit is one party trusting another party, usually with money, to pay back a loan they let them borrow. I mentioned before a passage from scripture that states that the borrower is slave to the lender. Loan sharking was supposed to be looked at as bad. Now people have loan sharks as neighbors right down the street. The banks. Some people feel as though they need to borrow money, not considering the immediate consequences when there's a failure of repayment. We let total strangers into our homes via mail advertisement from leading banks like Discover, American Express, MasterCard, Capital One, and even Visa, to name a few. It's funny how frequently they beg you to jump ship and drown in credit card debt. Hey, maybe if you were them, you would probably do the same thing. This is why I believe people shouldn't get credit cards, but use cash, because cash puts you in the driver's seat. Let's check out the wretched formula of APR that they will take out as a shotgun and shoot you after begging for your loyalty. So, alright, this is going to be the formula of APR. I'm going to write it down here on this board here and get the correct color marker. See, I'm dropping stuff already. I got to be real professional when it comes to writing on the whiteboard. In case people don't understand about credit cards, I know I'm in the way right now, give me just a moment. Credit card interest behavior. Let's put that on there. So credit card interest behavior, right? So I've had a credit card before in my past. What is the formula that is easy to understand in my opinion? Okay, so here we go. Let me find it real quick. So we're gonna go by APR divided by 365. That's the amount of days in the year, as you can see. Let me just say it's a 30-day month, and it fluctuates with different days of the month. Some months have 31, some months have 30. On a leap year, it's 29. February is 28 on a non-leap year. So we're gonna just put days of the year times 100. Okay, so this right here, let me just do a recap. APR, which is the interest they charge you, the annual percentage, let's write that down. It's called annual percentage rate. So it's called annual percentage rate, as you can see. That's what APR stands for, in case you don't know what that means. So essentially what that is the amounts of interest, the percentage of a rate of interest they're going to charge you for a total of 365 days in total. But what they do is they break it down. So this is why we're doing this equation here, this formula here, so you can get a better understanding of how they bill you from month to month. So the APR divided by the days of the year, this is a typical year, non-leap year, times the days in the month, which could be 30 or 31, times 100 equals accrued interest per day. Okay, that equals the accrued interest per day for that particular month. So in order for you to get the total that should be added to the principal, we're then going to do accrued interest per day times days in month equals total interest to be added to principal, which is the original amount you borrowed. In other words, the amount you spent on the credit card, it adds up to be your principal. The credit card companies don't make money from just you paying off the principal. I mean, who would make money? What would be the benefit of anyone loaning money out? Usually someone that's a family member. We don't look for any advantage. We just want to help you out. But of course, when you see interest, where's that? Interest right there. That means that the other party does not have your best interest at heart. They have their own interest. So this is the amount they're gonna tax you every day on top of that principal. Okay? Okay, we're back for another example. That was just the formula I showed you earlier, but let's use a real life example. Let's say you owe $1,000. Okay, that's your principal. And you missed the payment. So this is the fee, the late fee, $30. Your interest, the annual percentage rate at 20% for this example. Your billing cycle start date, June 1st. Start date, end date, June 30th. Due date, July 21st is your due date. You charge this to your card. This is the amount of money you borrow from them essentially. Right now, $1,000 plus the late fee. Now we're trying to figure out how do we get the interest. And I also want to show you guys a bonus today. I didn't talk about it. How they come up with the minimum payment that they think you should pay them. First, let's do this. So APR is 20%. In decimal form, how much is that? That's 0.2 divided by 365. Then you multiply that times how many days are in June? 30. You multiply that by 100 to get the true value of how much they're going to charge you daily. 0.2 by 365. So just get your calculator and plug this in, maybe your phone or something. These two bring you to this point. 0.0005,479. Bring it down, multiply that by 30, then by 100. This will give you the amount they will charge you every day. It's going to be 0.00164. We're going to multiply that times 100. And let's do the math here. So we're looking at a bill now of $1,079.30 because you didn't want to be responsible. You did not want to be responsible, so you're left with this. Remember back in the day, your parents or whoever raised you told you, be on time. You wanted the greatest credit score, be on time. You want to avoid the $79. That could have been groceries on your table. That could have been you going out with your wife. That could have been you buying that video game with $79. You do the math. So unnecessary. This is the game that the credit card interest, the behavior plays on people. You need to get out of the mindset of borrowing from someone else and borrow from yourself. Do people with a good credit history deserve a lower interest rate? Or are they just not stupid? People who have good credit usually have more privileges. And I'm not talking about white privilege. Like the privilege not to take on higher interest rate. My question is, would these type of people take on any interest rate if they didn't have to? Because anyone who gets a credit card is essentially taking on a risk and betting on their perceived level of fiscal responsibility. My innate notion to this point is I think that these people are not stupid. Like those who would even take on a high APR because either they know no better or are purposely and willfully ignorant and does not respect Mr. High APR. The reason why people get low interest rates is because it's a reward for being a good steward. Moving on. I remember getting my first and only credit card back in the late winter 2019, around February that year. I didn't know too much about credit cards at this point. My nose was wide open. I went on feeling like I was more financially powerful and financially stable than ever before. There were times I felt I had a safety net in case I couldn't afford one of my bills or even pay for groceries at times. What I didn't realize, I was digging myself a financial grave called debt. I already had a skeleton in that closet called student loan debt. Moving on. I did keep up with all my payments full for 1 month. I couldn't afford to pay my balance in full for 1 month. And I all of a sudden didn't feel safe or powerful. In that moment, most of you can relate to this. I hated the feeling of stress of not knowing I had to pay back for what I thought was mine in the first place after those checkout lines. Credit card companies hate me for even making content on this subject matter. I decided before my last credit card bill that I would close my credit card account and become the rightful owner of my purchase after the one and only full payment of those items and services. Tell them, if you really want to help me, send me a grant instead of a loan. Create a rainy day fund with a miscellaneous spending fund. That way you can borrow from yourself instead of someone else. My final thoughts on this topic is that you should know the system for what it is. A vending machine, not an ATM machine. Stop borrowing and spending crazy like the US. Cut up your credit card today and be your own bank. Thanks for tuning in to I Wrote This Down. God bless you, my family. Peace. The topic of credit cards, don't tell nobody I told you that.